AI was supposed to kill engineering jobs. That was the story. You have one engineer with AI who does the work of five. With the layoffs everywhere, the only thing we keep hearing and the only reason we keep getting is that it's all because of AI. However, the data came in this week and it says something completely different. It says engineering jobs are the most resilient job functions in tech right now. Hi, my name is Prince Yana and welcome to the weekend roundup with Everything DevOps. In this video, we're going to go over the jobs data story we talked about and three other stories. The first, the build that's coming due to all this AI usage. Second, the one thing Kubernetes teams still refuse to let a machine touch. And third, the week where everybody shipped an AI agent and there was a leash to go with. So let's stay tuned. So here's what happened. A venture capital firm called SignalFire tracked the careers of millions of employees across more than 80 million companies. And instead of looking at layoffs, they looked at hiring. Which is smarter, honestly, if you ask me, because people don't always update their LinkedIn the day they get laid off. Hiring data is real time, and here's what they found out. Total hiring across large tech companies is down 25% compared to 2019. But engineering roles is only down by 11%. Now hold on, because it gets better. There are 12 companies that SignalFire calls the major techs. That's Google, Meta, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Netflix, you know the names, right? Their engineering teams made up of 55% of all new hires in 2025. In 2019, that number was 46%. That goes to show engineers are not surviving. They are taking up bigger share of hiring that's still happening. And at early stage startups, that's even clearer. They hired 7% more engineers in 2025 than they did back in 2019. Asha Bantok, who runs research at SignalFire, put it like this. He said the reason given for the layoffs is consistently AI, and specifically AI with respect to code. One engineer could do the job of however engineers in the past. And then he said, and I quote, "What we're seeing on ground is a little inconsistent with that. Think about it this way. If AI were genuinely replacing engineers, engineering hiring would be the first thing to fall. It's the opposite. Engineering headcount is growing faster than most other functions in tech. Even Jensen Huang of Nevada rejected the whole idea.
Somebody said that AI is going to destroy all of the software engineering jobs. Well, as it turns out, we now have agentic AI inside NVIDIA. It's everywhere. Every single software engineer is using it. And the one thing that you will observe, two things you observe. Number one, the software engineers that know how to work with AI are the most popular software engineers. The software engineers that know how to use AI, know how to use agentic systems, working with agentic systems, are the most popular and the most successful. Number two, the software engineers are busier than ever. And the reason for that is because back then, they used to have an idea and they would code it and it would take time to code. Now we have an idea, it takes no time to code. Now all of a sudden, the company is waiting for you for the next idea.
There's a name for this, and it's called Jevons paradox. And that's the idea that when something becomes more efficient, you do not use less of it, you use more of it, because the work expands to fill the new capacity. So if you're an engineer that's been worried, waiting, or wondering if AI is going to take your job or if it has taken your job, this is the data point for you. As Bantok said, engineers are suddenly a lot more productive because there is now endless work for you to do. But the job apocalypse just didn't arrive. The invoice for that did. Remember earlier this year, where every company was telling you to use AI more? They were telling you to max out your usage. Some companies even built leaderboards to rank their employees on how much tokens they pumped. Amazon had one, but they deleted it. Because now, companies are working out how easy it is to spend an enormous amount of money on AI and get very little back. The reporting here comes from 404 Media, based on leaked audio from an internal meeting at Accenture. And the detail that got me is what these people were actually spending these tokens on.
They were converting PDFs into presentation slides.
That's it. That's what the budget was going on. And this is the same Accenture that not long ago told their employees that they risk losing out on promotions if they didn't use AI. Their agentic AI strategic lead, Justice Quack, said this in a meeting, and I'm quoting him: "We're hitting this inflection point where AI is becoming material to the cost structure. Spend is becoming very unpredictable, and leadership, especially CFO, COO, and CIO level, are still asking the question of whether they are getting the value from what we are spending on in the context of AI." So the era of token maxing is over. We're now in the era of token rationing. And my take for you is this: if you're the person in your organization who can show what your AI spend actually returns, you just became very valuable. Not the person using the most tokens around, not that guy. The person who can defend the invoice, that's the person that becomes very valuable. So teams are shipping code with automation all day long. CI/CD pipelines keep firing dozens of times a day. Autoscaling on its own is adjusting replicas in the background. And rolling back is just like muscle memory at this point. But there's one thing that automation is still not allowed to touch: CPU and memory. CloudBolt recently surveyed 321 Kubernetes practitioners at enterprise organizations, and the numbers are really fascinating. 82% report high or complete trust in automated delivery controls, but 21% still require a human to review things before applying resource optimization. And only 27% will let CPU and memory changes be applied automatically. And that's even with guardrails. So why is there a gap? You have the same engineers, you have the same clusters, but everything is still completely different when it comes to the behavior on these two things. So what's the difference? I think the survey actually puts it out perfectly. Deploying code feels additive. That is, you're shipping something new, you already know the rollback path, and if something breaks, you already know what to do immediately. However, with rolling back, it's a bit more subtractive. You're removing safety margins from something that's already running. And failure mode is completely different here, because when you change a resource request, you change how Kubernetes schedules, prioritizes, and allocates. And those effects are not visible the way a code change is. You can't trace it through a pipeline. You might not find out anything went wrong until like 2 weeks later, when a traffic spike hits a threshold, and that it didn't exist with old values. And by then, 3 other things might have changed. So
good luck in finding what caused it.
This is more important this year, because AI inference is landing on Kubernetes at scale, and GPU compute is significantly more expensive per hour than CPU. So over-provisioning used to be a round error you could quietly absorb, but not anymore. Inference workloads are also bursty in a way teams don't have intuition for at this point. Traffic patterns are constantly shifting because these models keep getting updated. So right now you have the strongest economic case ever and you want to automate it, but you have the least willingness to hand it over to anybody because nobody has a track record to work with these workloads yet. So my tip for you is, do not just read this survey and hear that 21% or the 21% is your team and just be resistant to automation. I want you to read it as trust being conditional and earned. Start with one namespace in dev, compare the recommendation to what actually happens, then from there you can expand. That's the same way we learn to trust CI/CD. It took years, so you should know how to do that as well. Now, while teams were busy debating what AI agents can touch or not touch, the industry spent this week building fences. Start with the Linux Foundation. They launched something called Akrites with founding commitments from AWS, Anthropic, Google, and more. The reason is very, very blunt. Frontier AI models can scan a major open source project and surface vulnerabilities in minutes. So the moment those capabilities are widely available, even people who never had the skill to mount a sophisticated attack suddenly have the tooling to do so. So Akrites set up a shared security incident report team and one standardized coordinated disclosure process across critical projects. The goal is just to find and patch flaws before the attacker's tooling gets there. That's simple. In this same week, you find out that there are 3 companies that all shipped AI agents, but they all had a leash attached. Now, the first one, Vessel launched Eve, an open source framework for building and deploying agents with TypeScript and Markdown. And alongside it, Passport, which is aimed at the shadow AI problem in enterprises. Second, Snyk introduced Evo, which is a real-time security control that governs how agent behaves and secure AI generated code from the start. Now you have Cloudflare, and they shipped an open source library of agent skills for Zero Trust. They have two files that any agent can load. The first one is for product guidance, and the second one for vendor migration with the actual logic for moving off Zscaler and Palo Alto. That's the same migration logic Cloudflare uses internally in the Zscaler program, which has moved enterprise customers in hours instead of months. But there's a pattern that you have to look at. Cloudflare built it with a review before apply design. The agent will propose a change and generate a summary, and there is always a human that approves everything before anything gets committed. That means there is nobody just shipping, oh, here's an agent, good luck with it. That means if you are adopting agents right now, there's always a governance layer that has to be part of your buying decision, and that's not a follow-up after your next quarter. So to put this whole week together, engineering jobs didn't appear. If anything, engineers are more in demand than before. But then there's a bill to it, and then somebody now has to justify why exactly it costs this much. Across the board, you can find out that the industry landed in the same place. Agents can build. That's not a lie. Agents can deploy. Agents can secure things. But the moment something is expensive or irreversible or invisible when it breaks, you still need a human to sign it off. That is all we have for you for this week's roundup. But as I said last week, this is the short version. We have an extended version in our newsletter, and that one comes with job opportunities and events that are happening all around the world. So don't wait to miss it. Check the link in the description, and thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click the link here to watch all our other YouTube videos. Thank you.